In this paper, we contribute 3 design manifestos that start from our queer and crip experiences to resist dominant designs and practices of productivity. We employ 3 technologies of productivity, Mendeley, Figma, and ChatGPT, to craft our manifestos, exploring ways to glitch them by reorienting their intended uses and design scripts. Each of these technologies represents our scholarly and professional work, or our orientations to productivity. Through these engagements, we highlight tensions in our relationships to technologies as scholars working at the intersection of HCI, design, and critical theory. Our work is inspired by queer and crip scholarship that have illustrated how the culture of productivity reinforces ableist, heteronormative, and patriarchal structures. Instead, they foreground crip and queer temporalities that resist linearity, causality, futurity, and normative narratives of time, and counter the commodification of time into a measure of productivity under a capitalist logic. We build on calls of other manifestos that resist normative or extractive design and data practices in HCI spaces, and push back on the traditional, linear, authoritative forms of manifestos. We craft each manifesto through nonlinear reflection and provocation, highlighting their forms and creation processes as integral to their message. We will now share 3 manifestos and our process of crafting them. This is Sylvia. My manifesto is a synthesis of provocative feminist and disability writings entangled with my chronic illness experiences. I wrote my manifesto in Mendeley, a reference manager designed to streamline citation processes, where I organize, read, and annotate papers. Though Mendeley is a productivity tool that drives my academic output, it also holds many important collections of marked-up feminist and disability writings that have come to represent an alternative form of healing, a digital apothecary that restores, rejuvenates, and invites new possibilities of living with illness. In Mendeley, I use folder structures to thematically outline my manifesto, creating keywords for each main theme, and placing relevant references in subfolders. I use annotation tools to express my emotional connections to passages within each text. And I work through these emotional tags in the general note section, where the body of my manifesto was written. I will read one part of my 4-part manifesto on productivity and pace. I'm tired. Maybe it's because of my chronic illness. But I'm also tired of the obsession with movement and productivity, of tracking apps and pacing technologies meant to optimize, to make us stronger, faster, more productive, of the active designs that actively exclude people who move slowly, differently, or less. Why should I move when what I need is rest? But how can I rest when I'm expected to produce, to teach and design and write and research, to publish or perish? How can I rest when there are no places to lie down when I leave my house? Would it be weird if I laid on the ground, on the park bench, on the carpeted floors of the library? How can we slow down the pace of our environments, both built and cultural? Let us design for inactivity, for pause, for breaks, as a way to break from the expectation of productivity.
This is Allie. My manifesto, or manifmesto, is a queer interactive narrative written in the popular software design tool Figma. As a former product designer, the language of Figma represented success, efficiency, and productivity, often in linear modes. Returning to Figma now feels like a resistance to the years I spent in these productive environments. But it's also a failure of a successful industry career, of commercial design, of a finished or polished product. My manifesto is purposefully unfinished, forever growing, non-linearly and sideways. In it, I create temporal and narrative confusions, ask more questions than I answer, and communicate insecurities around queerness, gender, and design. My reflections and personal anecdotes create messy abundances, glitching and queering both the form of the manifesto itself and Figma, design, and HCI largely, while recognizing how glitch, failure, and even queerness itself become commodified and ingested back into the structures of progress and productivity. In Figma, I use its prototyping capabilities to create a linked interactive narrative, shown with these blue arrows. Here, questions link to even more questions in stream of consciousness reflections in a multi-sequential mess that refuses definition or categorization. I will now read and click through a section of my manifesto in Figma. What does it mean to design something queerly? Glitching it, messing with time, slowing it down, making it weird. Finding the feelings, finding our bodies. Designing using queer forms, aesthetics, symbols, beyond the rainbow. What are more subversive queer forms? Designing something that's in between, rules, boundaries, styles. Designing as protest or resistance. Designing with others, queerness is coalitional. What if instead of thinking about queer design, we just think about what it means to be queer in this world? Glitching bodies, bodies that don't fit into normative spaces or conceptions, glitching by literally breaking computational systems or code. Am I privileged in choosing whether and when to glitch? Do I glitch when I pass or when I don't? Glitch equals failure. Is queerness still failure? What is queerness now, if not failure? How do we locate it? We thought of failure as generative, liberated from the trappings of heteronormativity. But what if we've begun to assimilate? What if we're not radical anymore? Are we still glitching? Are we still failing? What does it mean to design something queerly?
Shortly before completing my PhD, I was diagnosed with ADHD, adding context to my experiences of executive dysfunction and dyslexia throughout my life. During a period of reflection, I explored ChatGPT's capabilities, which coincide with my interest in AI-assisted technologies. ChatGPT helped me understand and articulate my thoughts, offering a new perspective on productivity and learning. It provided insights into my experiences, aiding in overcoming these internalized ableist assumptions and reshaping my academic approaches. This experience with ChatGPT now is here, a co-author in my manifesto, showcasing a journey of refining personal and scholarly narratives with technology. So in summary, the manifesto says, we envision a path where Abby and ChatGPT, trained by diverse contributors, challenge norms, lifting intellectual and creative growth, advocating for inclusive, accessible design and scholarship. This manifesto, inspired by critical scholars, interrogates Abby's neurodiversity, leveraging her ADHD and dyslexia as assets in interdisciplinary inquiry. ChatGPT's language processing aids Abby, supporting nonlinear thinking, vital in querying traditional cognitive frameworks. Querying here means reshaping idea processes, moving from rigid to fluid thinking, aligning with Abby's unique cognitive style. This approach also encompasses cripping, adapting methods to include Abby's diverse mental processes. ChatGPT assists Abby. It treats divergence not as errors, but as opportunities, redefining relationships with writing and thought processes. Yet, using ChatGPT responsibly involves recognizing its limitations, ensuring data integrity, and actively engaging in AI ethics discourse to amplify marginalized voices. In conclusion, this collaboration aims to disrupt linear and normative narratives, fostering inclusivity, diversity, and creativity. It's a call to continuously evaluate and align ChatGPT's use with our values, ensuring it enhances our querying and cripping efforts in scholarly and creative efforts. So yeah, I just want to share kind of where I got to tonight with this idea based on the same prompt. It's different, but it's also reflective of my current thinking and ideas. And I'm going to just scroll through it. You can slow down the video if you need to.
To conclude, we acknowledge the tensions and contradictions in resisting productivity this way and recognize that as academics, we are also caught in the productivity cycle, working within a system that we are trying to resist. We end by offering the following calls. First, we use our work as an invitation to call for reorienting our relationships to technologies of productivity and the cultures in which they are embedded, moving beyond productivity, beyond breaking, glitching, and failure, towards compelling directions that eschew progress-oriented measures and center queer and crip ways of knowing. Second, we join calls for querying and cripping productivity in design by building collectives that share vulnerabilities, break down power dynamics, and embrace tensions in diverse perspectives. Third, we join calls for elevating non-normative temporalities to embrace slow, multi-sequential, and non-linear paces. Finally, we end by calling for practices of slow activism through small yet consistent acts of defiance against normative structures and expectations of productivity, starting with small acts of cripping and queering, which might also include resting, pausing, and slowing down.